Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. So this is episode 13 now. And a few changes has happened since we've last recorded the podcast, one of which we've brought on a new coach onto the team, and we're really excited to have him on the podcast today. So Coach Chris, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Thanks for bringing me on.
No worries. Do you want to give us a little intro, who you are then, some of your competing history, things like that?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So I currently live in Newquay. I'm from Nottingham originally. Been bodybuilding competitively for 6 years. My first show was 2016, NABBA Midlands first timers. Placed, got an invite to the British, but didn't go because I didn't really know what I was doing, if I'm honest. Wasn't super happy with the look. And then I thought, I'll probably start taking this seriously now. So the year after, I put a solid year's grafted. And the year after, qualified with NABBA. Went to the NABBA British and took second. There were about 17 novices that year, so it was a really good year. This is like when NABBA was actually pretty decent before PCA came and sort of filled that slot. So yeah, that was a good year, and I really got the bug for it after that. You know, it was just it was everything I wanted it to be. So started taking it a bit more seriously then. 2018 competed, didn't do as well as I would have liked there. Came second at a regional. My dad was in ill health at the time, so there was a lot going on in the background. So I sort of took the rest of that year off, took 2019 off when my old man passed. Planned to compete in 2020, but we had the whole COVID shenanigans, so that got stopped pretty abruptly. And then obviously 2021 was my next sort of run at it, and we had a few first placers and overall, and the Fitex British that year as well, which was really good. So yeah, I took last year off to make a few improvements, and I'm in prep currently, going to compete at the Saxon in about 3.5 weeks' time. So yeah, looking forward to that one. It should be good.
Yeah, it should be a busy show. So me and G will be there as well because, well, Chris will already know. But yeah, so we've got 3 others competing at that show. So there'll be 4 basically now from Team GMT. So it should be good because it's the first PCA show of the year. Well, there's a first timer one, isn't there, 1 week before? But this is the first sort of open PCA show of the year. So it'll be interesting to see how busy it is, especially because on either side of the weekend is a 2-bro show. So you've got a 2-bro show week before, and then you've got an IFBB Pro qualifier the week after. So it may be really busy, or it might make it more quiet. I don't know till we're there.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should be in for a good overall because I know James Llewellyn's doing it, and he looks phenomenal. Like, he looks absolutely crazy. So at least if we don't get many bodybuilders turn up, at least then we might have a chance at looking at a few in the overall and watching them stand next to him. But yeah, it'll be interesting that world. See if anyone does jump in the Saxon. Obviously, peaking before it or peaking after it. You know, leaving 1 week between shows is always a bit of a crapshoot, really. Like, you know, it's kind of hard. Are you going to shift that water in time for the next one? I don't know. So we'll see what happens. See who shows up.
I think it's going to lead on to one of the subjects I want to talk about today, actually, and that's the difference between like a bodybuilder such as yourself compared to, like, for example, a bikini girl on prep, or even some of the men's physique guys, because it is very, very different. Like you've said, then it can be quite hard sometimes to do a show week on week for bodybuilders such as yourself, but for bikini athletes or men's physique guys, it's not really so much of a problem. Like, I've done back-to-back weeks, no issues. There's so much more at play with bodybuilders such as yourself, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, particularly when it comes to, you know, some of the bigger guys, you know, getting on stage over the super heavyweight cap, like 225 plus. Obviously, you're looking at a couple of days, quite heavy carb ups for that. Obviously, water retention is going to be something to think about with that amount of food coming in. There might be, you know, guys using a bit more diuretics at that size versus men's physique, when you could probably get away with over-the-counter stuff, you know, vitamin C, the old Expel or Strom's Peak Max, that kind of stuff, which are all really good products. But when you get to sort of like the bigger guys with more muscle, requires a lot more glycogen to fill out. You really, I mean, as a coach, I would always try and leave 2 weeks in between a show, just because you don't know how quickly someone's going to shift that rebound from the from getting ready for a show. You know, they could be holding water for 3 or 4 days, and then you're starting to sweat, and you're thinking, "Gosh, are we going to drop it for the next one?" You know, whereas giving yourself at least 2 weeks, you know you can be pretty dry for the next run round. So yeah, there's certainly a lot more, a few more variables to manage, I'd say, when you're going down that route. Definitely.
100%. It is interesting, isn't it? So it's just in general a lot more physically demanding, and it requires a lot more from the physique if you've got a lot more real estate to sort of fill out. Essentially, you know, it's going to take you a lot more grams of carbohydrates to fill that out. And like you said, the drying out process can sometimes be a little bit more extreme. Like, for example, bikini girls, there's no need whatsoever to do any sort of like diuretics, nothing like that. And they don't need to do any aggressive deplete and load. I mean, there are some outliers where some girls can take more carbohydrates, but in general, it's not needed. And if you do fit, even if they can facilitate a physique, facilitating all that growth, all those carbs, sometimes it might not even be needed for bikini, because you don't want to be outsized in the category, which Georgia's had problems with before, and we haven't even carved her up. She got bumped up. So you do
really
need to be careful. And yeah, it's a completely different game. So yeah, if you're too big for bikini, it hurts you. If you're too big for bodybuilding, it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. You can't really be too big, you know. I mean, there's always a danger of sort of spilling over a little bit, but that can be corrected on the day, you know, with a bit of food manipulation, and if you're clever, just sorting out water on the day. But like you say, bikini girls, men's physique, you could probably do week after week without an issue. But I would be very surprised to see a bodybuilder, say in April, for example, running on that the NPC show prior, and then going through to the Saxon straight after in a super heavy anyway. I'd be surprised to see that. So yeah, it's interesting.
It's exactly right, because we did a show last year. We did the Two Bros last regional of the year, and it was packed, mate. It was absolutely packed. So the show started, I think it was 9 a.m, wasn't it? And it didn't finish until 11 p.m. That's how busy the show was. It was so many people, because it's the last one of the year, and obviously there's a lot of pro qualifiers after that, but they have to do a regional. So there's a lot of people turning up not even in shape, because you don't have to place or anything, as you know.
Yeah,
you just have to turn up. So yeah, they did that, and then the very next day was a PCA show, which I think was the last one before the PCA finals. So the amount of men's physique and bikini athletes did the Two Bros show, then the very next day did PCA. It was mental. I wasn't expecting it, but it was crazy. But yeah, bodybuilding, like you said, very quiet.
Yeah, it's just a different kettle of fish. It's you know, and it's not to say that one is harder than the other at all. One class is harder than the other. It's just there's different variables for every class, you know. Like men's physique, obviously you've got to pay a lot of attention to the waistline, make sure that's as crisp as possible. It's the same with bodybuilders, but obviously you've got to manage that massive influx of food going in as well. And it's in terms of health and longevity, as a, you know, when you're peeled at 230 pounds, it's probably not the most healthy to be dehydrating 2 weeks on the trot versus, you know, someone who doesn't have to go through that to peak for 2 shows. So yeah.
Is that, do you think, what size you're going to be on stage? About 230?
I don't know. I mean, I'm flat as a pancake at the moment, and we're in the 240s, and it's coming in. Like, there's not, I reckon, maybe another 2 or 3 pounds off, and then obviously we'll carb up. But scale weight doesn't mean a massive amount to me. Like, I've got tiny little joints anyway, so it's all about the look. You know, I don't really mind. Judging by how things have gone so far, I think I'm probably going to be about 10 pounds heavier than I was at the British in 21. Excellent. Which is wild. But I was a little flat for that, but very peeled. So it's just playing about with the look, isn't it? Just seeing how you're going to land, and
I mean, you say you're flat, but you still won. So
yeah, that's it. But that was all Tom's work. That was Tom was very good at sort of, you know, manipulating the look. He knew my body very well, and he knew what we needed to do to beat the guys. And there were bigger guys in that lineup. It was just, you know, we managed to peak a little bit better. So yeah, it was cool.
Was that Tom Hames, was it? Or
yeah, Tom Hames. Yeah, I worked with Tom for about 5 years. It was really, really good. Really good. It was a good year, that was.
You're with a different coach now, right?
Yeah, I'm with Matt now, Matt Barmer. He's an old, he's a good old mate of mine actually. We're both from the same place in Nottingham. Used to train together a lot. I ended up parting ways with Tom this year, just because of we had a load on with the house. We had a lot of money outgoing, and I decided for this off season, I could save a few pennies, not using a coach really. And I've done enough off seasons to sort of know how to push myself, but I did find myself after a couple of months sort of stalling, as you do, without that accountability. Particularly with the force feeding, getting the stupid amount of calories in to actually improve. I do find unless you've got a coach, you're not going to do it. You're not going to push yourself. So I got in touch with Matt and just said, "Hey, dude, do you mind watching over us?" And he said, "Yeah, that's cool." So he just helped us out with an off season, and then he ended up winning the Worlds. And I thought, bloody hell, he looked really good. So I says, "Dude, do you fancy prepping us?" And he was like, "Yeah, okay." So that's how it just evolved from there, really. So yeah, it's really good. I mean, I'd 100% work with Tom again, and I've learned pretty much everything I know off Tom. But it's a very different dynamic working with a mate, So and I've quite enjoyed it. It's been very different, and it's made the prep a little bit easier. Really, it's quite cool. So yeah, we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, because sometimes it can work really well if you're working with a friend, and sometimes not so well. It depends if that friend sees that person as an authority figure. But when he's such an accomplished bodybuilder in himself, it's hard to not see him as an authority figure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we both love it, like absolutely love it. So there's no bull BSing each other, you're just completely honest. This is what we're doing. This is how you look. And it's just nice to have that, really. So I think with a shared love of it, you're both going to succeed.
Yeah. So, what's his plans?
He's competing with PCA this year as a pro in October. So he's just pushing up at the moment. He's just started with Martin actually for an off season. So he's pushing up, and then he'll start prep for October. So that'll be fun because obviously I'll probably be doing the PCA British as well. So we'll be in prep together, which will be quite fun. See how that works.
Oh, you want to do the PCA British this year, the finals?
I think so. Yeah, I think so because I will come back down because I might have a pop at Two Bros as well. It depends if I'm happy with the look or not. If I'm happy with how I come in April and May at the Universe, and I might do another run at the end of the year. But if I think there's still improvements to be made, then I'll just knock it on the head and just push up again and make some improvements. So yeah.
Fair play, mate. Fair play. We'll have to get him on the podcast at some point as well because it'd be really cool. But yeah, so this podcast today was mainly to just introduce Chris because he's going to start co-hosting with us as well, and basically explain why we sort of wanted to work with him with the team. And it's already kind of become apparent so far already, like how much experience he has in bodybuilding, and it's very different experience to what me and Georgia have. So we've been competing around about the same amount of time, me and Chris, but obviously he is bodybuilding through and through. I'm men's physique through and through. George's bikini through and through. So together we can all offer, a different perspective, different dynamic, and basically offer all of our team and all of our clients everything they need to get them to the stage. Because Chris has bikini clients, he has men's physique clients, and we're the same. We don't have open bodybuilders, but we have classic. And Chris can help them out with posing and things like that. So together we can all work really quite nicely, and it should be quite a good team up. So the other thing why we wanted to bring Chris on today and have a little chat to him is because he's a dad. And again, that's not something that me and Georgia are, apart from to our dog over there. But it's very different prepping when you're a dad, I imagine.
Oh, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, to be honest, because you're on your feet all the time. You're active all the time. But my kids are all under 4. So I've got 3 kids under 4, 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, under 5, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So there's always something to do. You never stop moving. Even them days like today, I've got a low day, which it's stupid for me. It's like 1,700 calories or something. So I'm dragging my feet. Yeah. But you can't stop. You've got to clean up after the kids. You've got to chase them around. You've got to be a dad above everything else. Particularly with something like this, I don't like them to see me struggling or moaning or anything like that, because it can breed funny things in their head if they just see what we have to go through. So you're always moving, you're always busy. And I think with with the kids, it requires another level of organization more so than anything else. Like, you've got to lose your attachment to sleep firstly. Like, I probably haven't slept more than like 6 hours in about 3 or 4 years. So you quickly lose your attachment to sleep. But it's once you get used to it, I actually, in a weird way, I think it makes getting in condition a little bit easier, just because you are so active all the time. But yeah, you definitely got to work as a team with your partner. Obviously, I'm lucky enough to have a good relationship with my wife, and we're able to share a lot of the responsibilities. And there's a lot of give and take that has to happen. But the main thing is, even more so than in a normal prep, when I've prepped without kids, is you've got to have everything prepared, everything ready to go. Because, you know, if the kids want to go out and play, you can't just say, oh, just give us an half an hour, I need to cook my chicken and rice. You know, it's got to be boxed up, ready to go, and then you go out and eat it on the move if you have to. So it's certainly a different dynamic, but it's incredibly rewarding. And I'd like to think they probably couldn't give two hoots about bodybuilding, to be honest, but I like to think that when they're a bit older, they see pictures of their old man on stage and think, oh, that was actually pretty cool, you know.
Yeah,
he's achieved something. So yeah, it's quite rewarding in that sense.
Are they going to be coming to the shows to watch?
I don't think so. I just think getting a toddler to sit down at one of them shows is going to be an absolute demand on them, to be honest. I mean, they get long anyway, don't they, the days when we sit and watch them. So getting a 5-year-old to sit still for that amount of time, I don't think so. Maybe in a couple of years, if I'm still doing it, then I'd like them to come. But yeah, not yet, I don't think.
That's fair. That is fair. I remember my old man used to make me go and watch the football, to be fair, when I was young, and he used to force me to watch it, and it made me hate the football. So you're doing the right thing by not making them go, because it probably make them want to do it by not being forced to do it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they follow in your footsteps and get really into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it with kids, isn't it? You just got to let them try a bit of everything, you know. At least what I can do is, if they did want to get into weight training, we could show them how to do it properly. And you know, we already give them like good nutrition. They pretty much eat everything that we eat, but just smaller portions, you know. So if I'm doing, say, chicken and rice, obviously I'll have it plain. But for the girls, I'll chuck a bit of curry sauce in there, you know, mix it all up, put it in a bowl for them, and they'll just have a portion of what we're eating, you know. So you're setting up good habits without making it seem like a chore, you know. So
yeah,
it's quite nice, really.
Yeah, it is a good thing. I mean, if me and G ever went down that route, I think we'd be exactly the same, to be fair. Sorry about the barking in the background. Someone's just come to the door, by the way. So hopefully it's not too loud. Yeah. But yeah, so you think you got in more steps by having kids as well? Do you think it helps with the
yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah. And I think, you know, a lot of people think, oh God, if they love something in their life, if they have passion for something in their life, and obviously there is that worry. I know there was with me when we had our first kid, that, oh, I might have to stop bodybuilding, but you really don't have to, you know, as long as you're organized. And it's like I said earlier, if you've got a passion for something, you'll make it happen. It'll be a non-negotiable. Like, part of my day, my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. every day before the kids wake up. And that's when I do my cardio, because I can get out, you know, I can do my cardio on my own. I do my posing, I do my abs. I just make sure I'm done and ready before everyone else is ready to get up. And then all the really essential stuff is done. And then, you know, later on in the day, when the kids are in bed or whatever, I can go off to the gym, have a bit of me time. And it's all, you know, you've obviously got to give and take a little bit with your partner, because it's stupidly demanding. But I try to be a bit more flexible in the off season versus in prep with my wife. So, you know, like you guys have found, I'm sure, you know, when you're in the off season, you enjoy things a bit more. You go out on a few more dates, and you know, you make the most of it. But when it's prep, it's like, my wife respects. I've done this for long enough that she knows that 16 weeks is like, boom, laser focus. And obviously she's going to have to, you know, allow me the 2 hours a day to go to the gym. So it's it's just a team effort, like everything, really. Just work together and make it happen.
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Like, making sure that you do communicate, whether it's kind of prep or lifestyle. If you are taking this journey to be better within yourself through something, sometimes I've found as well, a lot of my lifestyle clients, they can have a lot of strain from their partners, but it's purely because they just haven't communicated and said, you know what, this means a lot to me, and going to the gym like 3 times a week, like, these are, like, you know, it's not the extremes of prep, it's not the, you know, the depths of prep where you're restricted on things. It's just communicating that, do you know what, actually I'm just trying to make some small changes to my life, and I really enjoy going to the gym. I really would like it if we just mixed up our meals and, were mindful of what we're eating and stuff. But communication is always going to be the biggest thing, because half the time you're like, at the end of the day, your partner's not a mind reader, and if you then start resenting them because they're not supporting you, but you've not said this means a lot to me, they're not going to be able to help you. But if you say that and work out something between yourselves, how they can support you, and then you can do a bit of give and take back, you're going to set yourself up for way more success and to be able to enjoy it, especially when you're trying to work around kids and things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many of like your lifestyle clients will say to you, since they started training and how much better do they feel, and as a result of that, it's going to have a knock-on effect on the relationship's going to be happier because they've got that little time to do what they want to do. They've got that little time to do what they want to do, and you're both happier, so yeah, I think it's like you say, it's all about communication, and with the kids, as long as you're organized more than anything, you'll succeed. It doesn't have to be a stop to your bodybuilding. Yeah.
Is your partner into bodybuilding as well?
Yeah, when I met Leanne, she was competing. She used to do, what was it? It wasn't Pure Elite. It was it might have been Pure Elite. I can't remember, but she was competing as a bikini competitor. She was all right. She was like a top 6 sort of physique. She did a couple shows, but she didn't enjoy the preps really. I think after a few, she sort of decided, oh, that's enough for me. And she enjoys staying in shape, and we eat really well. She still trains, but in terms of pushing that condition, I think it was quite demanding for her. So she's just trains for the love of it now, enjoys it, looks great, and
it kind of helps though, the fact that she has been through it, so she can relate to you on those tough days. I think that is quite handy.
Yeah.
But for anyone that is, especially for like a parent looking to do a prep for a first time, like we've already touched upon, communication is really key. But at the start of the journey, don't wait for it to like get to the hard days and then try and communicate. I would, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would say before you even take it on, just say, I'm going to be really focused on this for 20 weeks, 24 weeks, whatever it's going to be. And explain how much it means to you. And I think getting that across early doors can really, really help, because then on your hard days, instead of them like having a go at you or feeling like you're being lazy, hopefully they'll be more supportive and get behind you and encourage you to keep going. And it can make a complete difference to a prep.
Oh yeah, well it goes from being a solo effort to being a team effort. When you've got your partner on board, they can support you, like you say, on those days where it's hard to move, it's hard to talk, like you say, just set the baseline at the beginning, and your partner will be able to, should be able to offer you that support. As long as you take them out for a big slap up meal afterwards, that's that's all that matters.
I said, and obviously towards the end, like it turns into a struggle, and it is very much like ticking boxes and just making sure you really are there to be there for that other person. But through most of it, when you do have life in you, I would like say to like most of my girls and things as well, plan everything, like even plan your partner's life, like everyone's routine. So like have a calendar, have a planner in the kitchen, know who's doing what, and if it needs to be that they support you more in the week, because you've got to say you do a 9-to-5 job in the week or something, but you've got more time on the weekend, you could be like, do you know what, I will do something like, let's go to the park with the kids and you on the weekend. So that's my steps, that's spending time with you, that's my giving back time and a thank you. And because it can get quite selfish if you are so busy in the week, because it is so prep related, if your other half is having to do a little bit more with the kids, but it looks like then you're making the effort without it being forced, because you can do the best of both as well. But because you've planned that time to, there's something nice to look forward to on the weekend, you're going to spend time together. It doesn't lead any resent throughout the week when you're thinking, oh my God, or your partner might be thinking, oh my God, I'm doing everything with the kids and they're spending all their time at the gym, because you're going to go like, on the weekend, we're doing something nice. Or if you still have calories to play with, if it's not as restricted, it might be the fact you go, let's just have a Nando's and let's just go out, let's get out of gym stuff and just do some us time. And planning that time to do something together is still going to be something that's beneficial for you as a couple, as well as like when you have the kids. So it can be a two-way thing rather than anything, because you don't want any, it can be hard enough, like you said, with the low days, that you then don't want any added pressure when you've got kids and everything else on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree on all fronts there, 100%.
Just want to get back to what you said earlier. Your low day is 1,700 calories.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, to be honest, at the moment.
That's a bikini girl diet, that is.
Dude, it's a super bikini diet today, but we found it very, very effective because obviously you'll know yourself. My weak points, especially, and I see it with a lot of clients as well. If you've got a weak point, it's going to flatten out quicker than the rest of your body, and particularly the bigger you are, the more food you're going to need to sustain that your weak point. So we've kind of been adding quite a bit more food on my back day, for example. So my back will normally my back flattens out a lot during a prep, and there's not much to look at. So we've been pulling the food down a lot more on my rest days where the output isn't as high. And on the days where we need to keep a bit fuller, we've been cranking the calories up quite a lot more than I would normally do so in a prep. And actually, it's worked really well this run. So it's carb cycling on a bit more of an extreme level.
Yeah,
but it's working very nicely, to be honest. Yeah, and it's.
Is this the first time you've tried that approach?
Yeah, I mean, normally with bigger guys, you need to run some kind of carb cycling because you don't want to string out, you don't want to go flat because it can take. Even like a 220-pound guy can take like a 500 gram of carbs just to get them from flat to normal, and then to fill them out for a training session, you're probably looking at another 500, 600 ready to go. So you do need a lot of food, but this is the first time I would say we've been so aggressive with it throughout the whole prep. Normally we'd sort of load up going into the show, whereas this time we've sort of said, right, these are your weak points. We protect these at all costs because me personally, when I start fading, my physique becomes very unimpressive being a taller guy. I need to be a lot fuller. And so, yeah, it's worked really well. It's been really good. Certainly learned a lot about myself this prep, as you always do. So,
that is interesting.
Definitely.
I'm quite fortunate in the fact that the muscle part for me that goes flat is my legs, but I don't need to show them anyway, so that's okay.
Well, that's awesome. You've won there as well, mate. That's fantastic. Yeah, just keep them covered up, mate. Get them board shorts on.
I plan to. So yeah, that is super interesting, to be fair. So that is another potential difference between a bodybuilder prep compared to a bikini, because you don't necessarily need to do that. I mean, sometimes it can be at play, but in general, you don't really need to do it, especially on like an aggressive style like that. So how many calories are you on a high day? So say, for example, your back day.
Yeah, calories, I mean, I couldn't tell you. I eat what Matt tells me at the moment. I don't work them out for myself. How lazy is that? But we're probably doing about 1,000 carb on a back day now. And that's just to sort of retain. I'm a big guy. I could chew through that in one gym session, and I'll wake up the next morning depleted again. So it's just enough just to keep us full. So it's just a form of carb cycling that seems to work quite nicely, really.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So you're looking at least 4,000 calories there, just off your 1,000 carbs. So
yeah, blimey, that's a drastic change, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, you'd never run that with a bikini girl. I mean, I certainly wouldn't give any of my bikini girls 1,000 carb.
Imagine you on that. Should be a mess.
You could probably do it straight after the show.
Even in my building phase, even if I had that now, I would just retain so much water that it would keep me going for like weeks.
That would stock her up for the winter, like a bear. You know how they eat loads of calories and hibernate? That would be Jordan. After one day.
My body would say otherwise.
Well, that's another benefit of the higher days, for you guys who are deep in a prep, and you could probably use this with some of your physique guys as well. Is that if you notice certain markers going down, like sleep, sleep always goes bad in a prep. Chuck a high day in there, if they're in good nick and they are ready early on, chuck a high day in there, or just give them one cheat meal, because the you're going to spike a lot of insulin. That's going to make you tired. You're going to sleep well. Dopamine, all the mental health markers from a big meal will help you rest afterwards. So
that's what you do tend to do, to be fair.
To offset any signs of sort of diet fatigue, essentially. So like you said, a lot of sleep is a massive one. Sleep's massively underrated, but I mean, I feel bad talking to you about sleep, considering you just said you're only 6 hours.
No, I don't mind.
I think that's something as well. Like when we're both on prep, and Matt's like had a bad, like he'll have like 2 bad nights sleep, and then he'll turn around and go, right, I'm going to give myself a refeed, I'm backing off, and then if I have bad sleep, I just can't, like, unfortunately it's not all bikini girls at all. Like, I've got a friend who's very similar build to me, and like, to look at statistically you think would be the same, but she's like a furnace for carbs. But like for me as an individual, if I've got bad sleep, I just need to take a sleep sack and suck it up, because if you were to give me a refeed, it might mentally make me feel better, but physically it would just hinder my progress massively, because that's how I know me as an individual. So that's where it's like, I just get really annoyed at Matt when he gets to do that.
Yeah. He's so lucky, mate. And it is an amazing feeling, isn't it? When you are that depleted, you get a big meal down you, and then about 20 minutes later, your eyes are sort of, oh, here we go. I'm ready for a kit now.
Yeah, it is the best. The best thing is when you've had a refeed day, and then it's the training session the next day, I find.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah.
It's always so good. But I mean,
if you could just... I was going to say, if you could just bottle that feeling and bottle that look for the whole year, like, you'd be made up, wouldn't you? I mean, how cool is that?
It'd be golden. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it just goes to show like how everyone's so different. So yeah, look, I've got a classic guy at the moment, and we've only really just started going really solidly into his building phase. And mate, he's just a food furnace. He's already at like just under 6,000 calories. And yeah, his body just eats it up, and he just needs more. I mean, when he shreds down for a show, he's still on about 3,000 calories, and his only cardio is walking uphill for about 15 minutes.
Really? Is he active at his job?
He is active at his job, yeah. So that's a big factor of it. But even if he wasn't, his metabolism is still super quick, he said, before he had this job. So that combination of the two, it's mental. I mean, it's great for prep, but I think he, you know, in the building phase, as you know, pushing the foods, that does get quite challenging. So there's
really
swings
tough.
and roundabouts.
It's the hardest bit, I think, and that's the trick with bodybuilders, is managing that digestion more than anything, you know. Just because the sheer amounts of food, you know, the last push I was doing, we were looking at about 6-8 clean calories every day, you know, 600-800, and it's just like that volume of food is brutal when you're doing it day in, day out. You don't really want any off-plan meals, because it just trashes your GI, you know. So it becomes your job then is to manage the digestion and try and keep as active as possible. And you know, obviously with your bigger guys, you're looking to play with insulin and all that kind of stuff, just to manage blood sugar and keep your blood glucose at a healthy level. So it brings with it its own challenges as well. That does. It's very exciting, very fun.
So we got a few questions through. And some of them, you know, it might take a while to cover, so I think we'll dive into them now. Some of them, some of them are more directed to us, but some of them are about all of us. So we'll work through them one by one. So first one is, what are all of your goals with competing? I'll let you go first, Chris.
Yeah, so I mean, I try and break things down year by year. I don't try and look too far ahead. So this year I would like to place in the universe, the PCA universe, in my class, and everything else above that is sort of like a bonus for this year, really. And I'd just like to keep it short term, because it's a bit more exciting then. You know, if I start thinking, I want to turn pro, or I'd like to win a pro show, I can't motivate myself that long, you know. So I need a short-term goal. Tick that box. What's next? Tick that box. What's next? So this year for me, I'd just like to place in the universe. I think that would be a good one for me, and just see how I stack up against some of those guys at the PCA for me.
It's going to be a really interesting show, universe. I think I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Looking forward to it,
because it was only their first ever year last year. Doing the universe, and I got the invite, so I was tempted, wasn't I? I was tempted to do it, but I pulled out because I wanted to just go for later in the year, and I kind of wish I did it, because it wasn't that busy.
It wasn't busy.
It'll be stacked this year.
I think it will. Yeah, it's been crazy because in the old days, like you'll probably remember, everyone peaked for the end of the year, end of the season, but now a lot of heavy hitters are going like early in the year, because there's so many shows now you can choose. Like, you've got Universe for a PCA Pro qualifier, but IFBB Pro qualifiers, you've got loads to choose from.
Take your pick. Yeah, that's it. You could just put a dartboard up with each show on it and just go, boop. Oh yeah, we'll go for that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's mental. It's mental. So you're right. I think it will be busy. But you want busy anyway, don't you? I remember you saying you want it to be competitive.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's always a problem at the moment with bodybuilding, particularly in my class, the men's tall or the supers with the NPC. The regionals are quite sparse. You know, you'll probably get 3 or 4 in a lineup. So to get like a good 10 guys in a lineup and to be able to get judged against them would be really, really cool. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for at the universe. I know I've been speaking with Dan Bastick and Craig as well. Craig Madden, I think it is, who's Blade coaching. They're both looking at getting to the universe, and they're both do men's tall. So there's at least 3 good bodybuilders there to stand against. So that'll be nice. Yeah. What about yourself?
That Dan was in zone the other day. He's a bit of a unit. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's such a lovely guy. I was around his house on Sunday just gone, and he's the most gentle, chilled out dude you could ever meet. Like he reminds me of like a big Labrador, you know what
I mean? So with us, go on, G, you go first.
So I'm kind of a little bit of an unconventional bodybuilder, aren't I?
Yeah, very much so.
Like, I guess a lot of people that they are, especially not all bikini athletes, but the pro card is very much on the cards for them. Like that's the ultimate goal. Whereas I obviously you do compete because you want to win and you want to place and everything, but I never have that end goal of wanting to be a pro card. My goal always, especially what I've learned over the few seasons I have done, is I definitely do it for me, and I've learned a lot more to keep in my bubble. So like even when we went to Alicante, I was like, my goal is I want to look like I belong on stage. I was like, that's all, Matt, look at me when I'm on stage. Do I look like I belong up there? And I want to know that I haven't been shaking and I smile, and like I've got all these little goals where it's like personal goals. So then when I placed and everything was like way out of of course you always want to place, but it was exciting to place. So it's not like I'm a diehard, I need to be an IFBB pro. I found where I fit, which is the NPC, because I tend to not fit in other federations now. So I love that I fit there. I train because I enjoy training to look a certain way. So I look at all like the pros and I'm like, I love their look. That's what I want to look like. So then I just go through phases, because that's eventually how I'm molding my own physique, because that's a look I like more than anything, isn't it? So even when I compete again next year, I'll do like a regional, and then we'll probably do 2 pro qualifiers, and then I'll probably tap out. We'll end 1 pro qualifier abroad and turn it into a holiday. Like I'm not fussed about like
nice. Yeah.
I will do show on show until I get a pro card, because of course that is an amazing thing to achieve, and I at the end of the day you'd love to get one, but that's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is just the journey more than anything. So yeah,
that is such a, you know what, it's so refreshing hearing that, and I think that's such a good mindset to have, because you're always going to get value from the sport. Then you're always going to have value, and intrinsically you're going to feel rewarded every single time you get up there.
Yeah.
Because like you say, people do get caught up just chasing that pro card, and I think, you know, not only does it not happen for some people, but I think when you do get it, then you sort of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think
I've had so many like highs and lows, and I've seen so many other people that have been not the best standard and they've won, and then I've seen the absolute best standard and they've not placed, and it's given me a massive wake-up call as to how subjective bodybuilding is. And you have no idea who's going to turn up. You have no idea what they want on the day. So it's the most grounding thing when you do you know what, I know what my last look was like. So I will do everything to make sure that's better. And then no matter what happens, I can't control who else is going to turn up. I can't control if they're going to like me on the day or not, but I can make sure that I do everything to bring my best and make sure I'm happy with that. So that's literally my biggest thing all the time, is like, let's grow some muscle, because I really enjoy eating. I love lifting. I want to build some glutes and some delts, and then let's see, like, reveal it all. Let's get on stage, because the stage is completely out of my comfort zone. So it's like, let's keep growing my confidence, stepping out of my comfort zone, proving that you can do all this stuff, and then let's go back into growing again and just enjoying the process of the up and down more than anything.
And you know, the cool thing about that is as well, you're always going to look awesome, because you're not particularly stressed. So you know, the thing that throws people off most of the time is the stress and the panic, you know, so you can remain with that. That's fantastic.
I've been there with the stress, because I'm definitely, a lot of people very much enjoy the show day, and then the prep can be the struggle. And my preps, we've been very open about it, are quite brutal, but it's definitely, the show day was always something, because it was so out of my comfort zone. That was something that has ruined my physique before, because I got so stressed. I literally just got into my own bubble. I panicked, anxiety, I swelled up with water. So I think doing the whole process and then proving something to myself, like I said, my last goal was, I want to be on stage and smile and not be shaking and look like I belong and all that kind of stuff. So that to me was proving to myself that I can do it, rather than doing any of this for anyone else. It's not to, if anything, it's to prove to anyone else they can do it too. If I can just step on there after I've had a panic attack and stuff the year before, and prove that I can then step on a stage abroad and stand and look like I belong, then yeah, that's the main thing. But yeah, it's definitely just for myself, and we'll just see what happens, I guess.
I do think she has got a great mindset there, because even though that's what she wants to achieve, sometimes for some people that's not quite enough for that goal to push as hard as she needs to push for a prep. Because I've said it on my Instagram loads of times, she is like, I'm not just being a suck up here, but she is genuinely the hardest worker I've ever met. So for that to be a goal, to just wanting to level up, it is awesome to see.
We've had to question it a few times to be like, is it enough? Because if you're not like a diehard pro, and the lengths I need to go to get that lean, like, why do you do it? And sometimes I'm not sure, but it is that journey. And like, when I look back to know I've done that, because I think as well with my history, I was always like the fat girl. I got bullied, I got told, I got even told I wouldn't ever be one of those girls that could do it. So I think it is that like passion of just, I can do it. I can literally do it. And
to prove it.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it. Like, I wouldn't have even started it if it wasn't for Matt, like, generally giving me that nudge to believe in me to do it. But yeah, I think it is just, yeah, I'm stubborn. So I'm like, well, I want to look this certain way. Like, I swear to God, I will have that glute ham tie. I don't know how many years it's going to take me, because I don't genetically have it. I'm not gifted, but I will have it. So I'm stubborn. Once I've decided I'm going to get that.
You sound like me with my calves.
Oh, mate, I'm right with you there, dude.
I'm more likely to get a glute ham tie over your calves.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Right. So on to me, I suppose.
Yep.
So I'm just happy continuing to level up. So basically, I just want to keep working up the ranks, essentially. So I've done like UK up. I've got the pro card there. I've got the pro card at NFM. Now my big goal is PCA. I really want to get the PCA pro card and then move on to IFBB. Both of these now, it's getting to the stage where genetics do massively come into it. Like you said, Chris, some people can do everything right, push so fucking hard. Some people just won't ever get it, just down to their genetics. So I will find out where my genetic potential is within the next 2 or 3 years, I think. If I'm still nowhere near after 2 or 3 years, I'll probably knock it on the head and just do coaching and judging, because to be honest, coaching is getting very busy now, so I also need to take that into account. But yeah, for me, the next goal is the PCA, because I came second at the finals last year, and size wasn't an issue. I was bigger than the winner, but he was just a little bit more shreddy than me. So to me, is annoying because I didn't come first, but at the same time, getting conditions a lot easier than getting more size.
Yeah, that's fixable within the short term, so you can easily bring that.
I did a split season, so I was a bit just battered by the end. But yeah, that's the goal for this year, to aim for. I've got a vision board over there, which is why I keep looking over there. It was PCA Pro card next year is on the vision board, but I'm just going for this year. And then
don't blame me, dude.
2025 would be the IFBB one. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I just want to keep working up through the ranks. The last show we're aiming to do this year, or I'm aiming to do, is the Amateur Olympia in Florida. And that's more for fun, but also to see where I'm at against some of the, the heavy hitters amongst the amateurs in NPC. That'll be really interesting for me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So it should be an exciting season.
Yeah, and you'll end up in Florida for a nice little holiday afterwards, like Georgie said. So it's ideal.
Yeah.
She's buzzing for that. Absolutely buzzing for that. Right, next question. Worst experience with steroids?
Oh, God. Yeah, I've got one that sticks out, to be honest. My first ever quad shot. It yeah, I don't know why. Well, I don't know. My quads just do not like jabs, to be honest with you. I remember the first time I was sort of probably my second year using gear, and I'd just been doing my delts and glutes before, and I was like, oh, I should probably try and mix it up a bit. So yeah, just put it wasn't even much gear. I think it was like a mil of test in my right quad. And oh my God, I genuinely could not walk on it for about 10 days. I was limping. I was working an office job at the time. So people were looking at me thinking, what is wrong with this guy? And then once the PIP had passed, I thought I'll do it once more on my other quad, just, to see if my left quad's any better. And it was exactly the same. It was legitimately, I don't know, man. Like I've had PIP before, bad jabs, but that was 100% the worst thing ever. Yeah, do not recommend. Well, quad jabs seem to work well for some people, but for myself, no,
It's
I can't handle it.
One of my best mates jabs only his quads because he doesn't mind it at all. But for me, I had exactly the same experience as you, mate. My whole quad swelled up, bright red. It wasn't infected or anything, but I couldn't fucking touch it without being sore. And I had to go around to my mum's house. I think it was Mother's Day. And I came limping through the door, and she was like, "You're not injecting that shit again, are you?" I was like, "Yes, Mum."
Yeah, sorry.
She knew straight away.
Apart from that, to be honest, been pretty lucky. I mean, when I was walking dogs, I had a few hypos when we started using insulin and stuff like that, but just very mild stuff, nothing really scary. So I think as long as you're sensible with everything you use, to be honest with you, they're not as bad as I shouldn't really say this, but you're not gonna have any horror stories, that's for sure.
I've got a few.
Yeah. You'll have to tell me offline, mate. Don't scare everyone.
I'll say it now. So, well, they're not that bad, the horror stories, actually, are they? So I think they're quite funny more than anything. So first time I tried to pin my delt, just fainted on the bathroom floor because I'm really bad with needles. I'm scared of needles.
Were we together?
Yeah, that was the first time I did it up there.
Oh, he just shut himself away, didn't he?
Yeah, I always shut myself in the room when I do it.
That's incredible. She probably thought you'd been asleep on the toilet again.
Yeah.
Taking another massive poo.
But yeah, so that wasn't great. And then another one, which you may have experienced before, but because I hate needles, it made it even worse. Is I went back in the delt, and when you try and push it through too quickly, and the oil's a little bit cold, it pops off. Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
All the oil like spurted in my eyes and like jabbed all up.
It stinks as well, doesn't it? It smells like really like just medical and weird. Yeah, I
was more concerned about my eyeballs hurting, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was like bleeding loads, and the worst thing is, I obviously had to still pin, so I had to recover and then go in the other one. So that was awful. But the worst
That's so funny.
Was the panic attacks, I think, wasn't it? They were the worst ones. So this is like quite a few years ago. Wasn't it like?
I thought you meant like when you jabbed, you had a panic attack. This was a repercussion.
Yeah.
I used to get really bad panic attacks.
This was years ago before I did any sort of I was an idiot, typical young guy that just thought, fuck it, I'll just jab stuff in and see what happens.
Yeah.
Went for a fairly hefty dose of Tren, not knowing that Tren's obviously a neurotoxic drug already. But I'm an anxious person. So basically whatever you are, Tren can sometimes amplify whatever you are. So if you're angry, it can make you really angry. If you're anxious, it makes you super anxious. Anyway, I wasn't great, was I?
No, we were living at his mum's house at the time, just in the spare room because we were saving for our own house. And I didn't know anything really about drugs. I just knew he started getting really bad anxiety and panic attacks. And it was around like 11 o'clock or 12 at midnight. So I'd been in sleep for a few hours because was I on prep then? I must have been on prep. But yeah, I didn't know that much. And then, yeah, I used to have to get changed in my unicorn pajamas and we'd go for a walk around, like literally around where we lived. And that would always have to take a bit of bread. And I was Googling how to panic attacks. And we just had to keep him talking while he was eating his bread while we were out walking at midnight.
I didn't know it was a panic attack, so I didn't know what was going on. And I don't know why I always ate a bit of bread, but it seemed to help a little bit.
Stale bread.
I was like a fucking weird duck in the middle of the night just eating bread.
It's what you used to do when you was fucked up at parties as well. A bit of bread, mate. You'll be all right. You sort it out. Don't know why it worked.
And I used to work night shift as well. So I used to have to. So if I knew I was on a night shift, I would always leave you a note. and be like, just read this note over and over again if you start having a panic attack, and then I would be up in the night anyway, and then I would be messaging you to make sure you're okay. So it's like I was there mentally, not physically.
Yeah.
And you know, did you not think to stop taking the tren then? Did you not think, oh, maybe the tren is causing it? It's such a meathead thing to do, isn't it?
Well, I was hitting PBs, so I just, you know, I wanted to keep going.
Jesus.
And that led to Matt not being able to have any caffeine for years.
Yeah, I've only just started being able to have it again.
Or
but
sleep. You couldn't sleep for years.
Yeah, it honestly,
Don't
it
do drugs,
can.
kids.
Yeah, it can mess you up. So yeah, obviously, yeah, you know, after knowing now what I do, tren is very, as I said before, very neurotoxic, and yeah, that was obviously the cause of it, because I can do other compounds and be absolutely fine now. But yeah, I wasn't even on it that long. It was a very I did a fair bit, but I was only on it for about 3 or 4 weeks. Biggest I've ever been, strongest I've ever been within that time frame. So that says to you like how much I was taking. But
yeah, it's pretty insane.
Absolutely idiot.
Jeez,
but this is
dude.
why you need to, you know, do your own research into it. This is don't do what I did when I was younger. Do your
That's
research.
why you do a lot of extra now on it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what part of being a coach is about, isn't it? You know, an aspect of that is having the experience yourself and having done it yourself, you know, so you can advise others and, you know.
So they don't have to go walking at 1 a.m. with a bit of bread.
Yeah, with a bit of bread, yeah.
Right, next question. Shock, another PED question. And it's, what are both your stacks? I presume they mean me and Chris, not Georgia. How much tren are you pinning, George?
If my stack includes carbs.
Yeah, I'd rather have that stack at the moment, to be honest. I'd rather have a Burger King stack right now. Yeah, well, so for now, obviously we're in prep, 4 weeks out. We've got all your basic prep drugs, really. You know, we've got a Masteron in there, tren, test. Winstrol's just gone in at 4 weeks. And we're playing about at the moment with Superdrol pre-workout on my weak point days. We're putting a bit of Superdrol in pre-workout, just to keep the output higher on those. They keep the performance a bit higher, and it's quite a nice look, to be honest with you. So whether that's something we'll keep in perhaps as we load up to the show, I'm not sure. See what Matt says, but it's yeah, that's it at the moment. The mast is creeping up a bit higher as we get closer to the show, obviously to dry us out. Tren is staying constant. I never really run tren high, to be honest. We're doing 50 milligram 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that's sort of tying us over. And the look is improving, you know, every single check-in. So yeah, there's not much need to change anything else at the moment.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice. No, nothing else at play. No GH.
Oh yeah, sorry. When I think stack, I just think injectable like oils, you know. But yeah, so GH, we've got 2 units, AM and post-workout, and we're running insulin pre-workout, so a lower dose on normal training days, Nova Rapid, and then on the weaker days we'll run a bit of a higher dose, and obviously the carbs will be higher around those sessions anyway, to, as I mentioned, to protect the weak points. And yeah, that probably won't change now, to be honest. I imagine the week before we'll probably pull up quite a bit out just to help dry out. But yeah, it's all going pretty well. Obviously, I would probably follow that with that's more gear than I'd use in an off season. You know, like yourself, the food tends to do the work in the off season. So an off season stack for me would be a lot more mild than this. But for prep, this is what we're on at the moment. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Any lipolytics then?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. So we've got Clen at 80 micrograms. We've got T4 in at the moment, 100 micrograms. That's it at the moment, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
Clen and T4, yeah. So it's pretty good. Steps are still pretty high. I imagine as they'll come down as we get closer to the show. But yeah, in terms of the gear, that's it.
Nice.
Not much really.
I imagine you're using the GH to facilitate the fat loss more than anything. If it's just 2 units.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's the thinking behind the GH was 2 units in the morning before I do my cardio, and then with the post workout, again, it's just to sort of facilitate that muscle protein synthesis and just increase the recovery around the training, particularly as the food's quite low most days. Yeah. So.
Interesting. So for me, it's well, like Chris said, it's very different when you're in the off season. I mean, there's two approaches you can take. If you do need to get a lot of size, there are some people that say you do actually need to push the compounds more in the off season, because it is harder to grow muscle than basically just holding it in prep. But yeah, it depends what stage you're at. So for me, I'm just on Masteron and test, and that's probably it. When I move over into prep, I probably will put in GH, because my prep starts in 5 weeks, which is exciting. So I'll probably put in GH, same as Chris actually, 2 units AM, just to help with fat loss. Unfortunately, I can't do Clen because of what we spoke about earlier. I have anxiety, and it would make me
not a good idea.
No, unfortunately not. But yeah, I mean, for my last prep, test and Masteron was the only compounds I used, and then I put in Anavar right at the end, just to basically help with performance in the gym, because you know what it's like when you get super fucking lean. It's hard to keep those numbers, and your gym performance is what helps keep that muscle tissue around. So that's the main reason why I chuck in the Anavar towards the end. But other than that, I don't think I used anything last year, did I? That was it. I asked G because she helps me pin. We're a team effort on that front.
Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. Get the missus to do the tricky ones that you can't reach. You know,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it.
I cramp up if I'm around there too long. I'm not even that big, so I don't know how the bigger guys do it. But I pop it in, and then I have to tell G I'm ready, and then she comes in and plunges it.
Oh crikey, no way, that's mad. I just get Leanne to do like lats and stuff like that. Like I'll just stand there and like, here we go, Leanne, get it in. In you go.
It's that time again.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, very, very different stacks, but again, like we said, very different goals. Chris is a lot bigger than me, and he's also in prep, so that's what
it's a different look as well, isn't it? You know, what you're looking for is a slightly different look, and obviously that's in prep in particular. As you get fat free, the compounds will largely dictate how you look as that body fat's come off. So yeah, very different between the classes.
Next question: how would you support a female who wants to go assisted?
Oof, who's taking that one?
I'll take it. So this one, it really, for me, it's always, I have the same approach, whether it's a female or a male. It's education. So I just give them all the information. Say I understand it's a needs analysis. So find out what their goal is, what the time frame is to get to that goal, and say, right, okay, so you've got all your fundamentals in place. You really want to go to that next level. These are the potential PDs that are at play, which we could potentially use. These are what's on the table. But I always make sure that they're fully clued up on it as much as possible. So I'll obviously explain what they can do, the potential side effects, the effects that they'll have. And then I'd also point them in a direction to do their own research, because I think that's really, really important. I don't like it when people just want me to tell them what to do. I will obviously do that, but at the same time, I much prefer it if they have a vested interest in learning about it themselves.
Yeah,
I think it's so important. That's basically
agreed.
it for me. So the support I would give is education and giving them all the points that are related to the potential PEDs that are on the table. So that's it from my standpoint. George, you don't really.
No, I think
handle that
the main
aspect.
thing is, yeah, because I think if someone wants to go assisted, you want to know where your body composition is now. Are you a first timer? Are you like a seasoned athlete? What do you know already about it? Because obviously, like, you've just gone through your stacks compared to, like, I mean, I've been open in the sense of, like, the only things I've ever really been on is the back end of my prep when I use Clen and Anavar towards the back end, so it's something completely different. Obviously there'll be other people using other things possibly, but I think it's knowing why do you want to do it. Obviously first timers do use it. It's not the fact that you have to reach your natural ability first, but it's knowing that you don't have to go straight on it, but it's knowing all your options. That's the biggest thing, is like knowing all your options, doing your own research about it, and making sure you are educated on it, and you're doing it for the right reasons. You're not just doing it because that's the magic thing that's going to make you better. It's like Matt said, do all those fundamentals, and then is this going to be the like cherry on top of the cupcake that might help you get there, or are you quite content? You know, are you just planning on doing this just to see what happens for the first year, and so you just want to stay natural but you feel pressured through someone else? Like, definitely making sure you've got the support and you've got the advice, and then you have a good old think about it to know if that's the right reasons you're doing it for.
Yeah, that's very sensible. Like you can't really go wrong as a coach if, like you said, Matt, and if you just lay down all the facts in front of them, and there's potentially things that are going to be irreversible with women, like the virilization and some of the issues they have to think about there. But if it's all on the table, like you said, just go away, have a think, and see what it means to you.
Once they understand what they can do, and like you said, the potential side effects there, some of which are pretty much irreversible. If they're all happy to accept that and they're ready to go for it, then I'll lay out a framework. But I would never take someone on and straight away say, right, I want to take some PEDs to get to the next level. I wouldn't just say, right, this is what you're going to take. Against that.
I think Agreed. If you're putting something into your body, like man or woman, you should accept responsibility of what could happen. So doing your own research, don't just expect someone to tell you what to do. Like be able to, especially if you're working with a coach, be able to ask why. And if your coach can't give you like an explanation as to why they're doing certain things, and they're just saying you need to do this, is that's going to be, to me, a bit of a red flag.
If their answer is just trust the process, then
so kind of like 80 mgs of Clen off the bat, and they'll be like, why? Because I said
and 20 mgs of Anavar straight away
for 20 weeks.
Crikey,
they'll grow a penis and their coach will still say, trust the process.
Trust the process. It's all right, mate. It's normal. We joke, but the scary thing is there's people like that. There are people that will just do that. And that's why you got to be really smart about it.
I think that's
really honest as well.
Be able to ask why, like, why am I doing this? And if they don't give you education to even go look at stuff yourself, like give you the pathway to find more information on it, then go find another coach.
So the next one isn't a PED question. This one is, did Georgia take your surname? Did you take hers, or did you keep separate surnames?
Yes,
because I think they've asked this because Georgia still hasn't changed her Instagram name.
I have. So in my bio, it's Georgia Parker, but it's because it's always been Georgia Gilbert 23. Thing is, Matt, why did you asked not long ago, why do you have 23?
I've learned now. It's your birthday.
Yes. Why else would I?
Oh, crikey, dude. Schoolboy, mate. Oh, my gosh. Come on.
That's the thing. So normally I'm searched through Georgia Gilbert 23, and I just can't be asked with that. Not that I'm very popular anyway, so it's not like it's going to be hard to find me. No one's searching for me, so I don't know why I say this. But it's like that thing of keeping it. But yes, I've changed. I'm the one that's had to pay to change all the documents because I'm a Parker now. Whereas he's only just changed his driving license to the fact we live here after living here for a year and a half.
I've only just done that. And that's why I got a parking ticket for £170. Didn't change my address.
Dude. But yes, I am Georgia Parker, and the dog is Harry Parker. So.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's serious, when the dog's got it as well.
Last question. I'll read it out and then I'll give it a bit of context. I'll also just say blank because I don't want anyone to know who I'm talking about. So can you explain how you managed to get blank so crispy dry when I know before she was on very little food and extremely high cardio and still got nowhere near as condition as what you got her to? So just for a bit of context, this is a client that basically came to me from another coach, and it was because another client came to me last year. I started working with her because she had a really bad experience with her last coach. And this is why I don't want to say names because I'm never about coach bashing or anything like that. Yeah. So she's asking basically, how did I turn her prepper around? And to be honest, I didn't really do anything out of the ordinary for what I do with everyone else. It's just paying attention to the details. Because I know what her last coach gave her. And it just wasn't very detailed. For example, like I'll just talk about the peak week. Yeah, the peak week was like eat 3 muffins. What muffins? Like
wow,
muffins? How big muffins? Like, and why is she eating muffins? She didn't have muffins the rest of the prep. So why on this random day is she going to eat 3 muffins?
Jeez.
And yeah, it's just small things like that. Like she didn't actually know when her actual competition date was and things like that. And things like that can add a lot of stress to an athlete. For one, that's one of the biggest factors because this particular client, she does sometimes get a little bit stressed. And it's really important to lay everything out in advance. Obviously, it's forever adaptive, a plan based upon how they respond. But if they've got everything laid out for them, this is why I do a vision plan for the whole year for every client. They know exactly what stage they're in all the time. peak week plans. We practice a peak week well in advance, so we know we have predictable outcomes, how their body's going to respond. If they're going into a peak week blind and their coach doesn't even know what day they're competing, of course it's going to add a lot of fucking stress. So I would say that was the main thing. It was just managing the obvious, and just being more detailed with things, but also, in fairness, we had a longer timeline. So I took over just before her first set of shows, and we did make improvements for those first shows, but then I had the rest of the year to bring her in more. So it's a combination of that timeline plus paying attention to the details. She also had some digestive issues, which if I wasn't doing like daily accountability things with, I wouldn't have seen. So it's small things like that. But yeah, so that's basically the answer. We didn't do anything with drugs, nothing different there, nothing crazy, no crazy protocols. It was just paying attention.
Yeah, paying attention daily, wasn't it? So it was more the fact you do keep notes of everyone kind of particular, and if they need that extra support or that extra attention, then it's a case that you just gave it so you could keep an eye on everything. And it got to the point where she could even just start reversing out into the show. Yeah. So by the time she had done the show, she was feeling so fresh that she didn't want to finish. Yeah. And she's ready to go again.
Brilliant. Wow.
I was a little bit jealous of her prep towards the end.
I was jealous, very jealous, because we were on prep for something at the same time, and she was fresh as a daisy, and I was like, damn you.
But that is it. That's all the questions. So yeah, I think we covered a fair bit there, to be honest. But yeah, so these podcasts are going to come back now, especially now show season has started, because the original idea behind this podcast, that's why it's called What Does It Take, is to interview like some of the winners of the shows and what it took for them to get there. So we're definitely going to be bringing that back with Chris as a co-host as well. And the show vlogs will be coming back now as well, because obviously show starts. First one's 3 weeks Sunday, right, Chris?
Yeah, that's right, dude. Yeah, not that I'm counting down or anything.
2 weeks and a peak week. That's what you've got to count it as.
2 weeks and a peak week.
Oh God, yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
That's how bikini
we'll
girls
take
count
that.
So yeah, you'll be seeing us more. As always, guys, if you enjoy this podcast, make sure you share it on your Instagram, tag us all in it. Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. See you again.